As the story starts, we see a family of 3 in their home talking and playing with each other while looking at photos. The mother puts down a photo of them visiting the beach and getting ready to cook when the son starts telling how he remembers the photos being taken. But as the stove lights up, it flares up and explodes. The kid sits at the hospital and finishes what had happened, and the interviewer thanks the boy and turns to the older guy and asks for his side and the person who had saved him. The old man remembers them getting to the house as he sits on the bench outside as night falls. Finally noticing the time, he gets up to leave when he sees an explosion. He hears a nearby person calling for help, and others talking about the source of the flame. He runs inside and looks around surrounded by fire when he notices something. When the firefighter gets ready to run in, he hears a bystander screaming and looks up to find an old guy in flame falling. The firefighter commands others to transport them to the hospital. After the fire dies down, 2 firefighters talk about how no survivor was found. And other one looks at burned photo thinking if the only survivor was saved by the old guy. The interviewer leaves saying he will contact them if he has questions and wish them a speedy recovery. As the interviewer leaves with the interviewer, he hands Nam the photo he was able to recover and gets ready to leave when Nam starts recollecting how the photo was taken and begins tearing up. After the bandage was removed, the doctor asked if he could see, but he couldn't see anything except a dark spirit-looking thing, so he hid it from the doctor as the spirit didn't want to. The old guy and doctor discuss about Nam being sent to an orphanage as he didn't have any living relatives left. Nam talks to his spirit friend who hugs him. The old guy comes in and asks if he is feeling better and pats him saying he will be okay and promises to be brave and strong. As they part ways, he smiles as he looks at the spirit, who he named Inky, and holds his hand. In the orphanage, he tries to be optimistic and introduces himself only to be alienated by the scared kids who calls him a monster. Teacher tries to intervene, but to no success. The alienation keeps getting worse till the fear turns into ridicule as other begins to bully him. One of the kids pulls the photo and tears it up while also pulling his chair and begins ridiculing him. As he hears them, something dark inside him extends his arm with a promise to help him and takes possession of him. The kid who is laughing suddenly stops, and as if Nam was blind as he seemed to be smiling right at him. As the possessed spirit tries to look for something, Inky pops out and pushes the spirit back inside him when the teacher comes in and take Nam to office. At the office, Nam comes back to his senses. The teacher tries to console him and asks what happened. Nam reveals that he knew even the teacher was afraid of him and was keeping their distance. The old guy visits the orphanage, and the teacher looks a bit uncomfortable seeing him as he hands in the adoption documents. He looks around to find Nam alone, hiding beside the closet, and calls out to him. As he tries to console him, he reveals that he was trying to adopt him, and Nam tries to say he was fine, and he didn't have to. The old man pats his head and tells that he wasn't a monster, and anyone who said so was a monster, and to never let those words get to him. Feeling warmth in his hand and words, he starts tearing up. After the adoption process, he leaves. He smiles as he holds his with the person who saved his life twice, and promises himself to conquer everything head-on. Even in the new school, he was still being ridiculed and bullied, but he never let it get to him as he got strength from his grandpa and Inky, who was always beside him, and as time passed, he grew and started high school. He starts walking home as Inky warns him about stairs, when a student behind looks at him with a smirk and asks his friend to follow him. As he walks home, Inky manipulates him to buy snacks. Afterward, as he is walking the guys from school, pull him to an alleyway. Nam was used to it as the guy starts to beat him. But he doesn't resist them at first, but hearing the black hoodie comment, he punches him in the face. After being taken aback, his friends attacked Nam at once. After it turns dark and they leave, Inky begins to tell him how to beat him, but Nam tells him to forget about it. He asks how his face looks as he doesn't want his grandpa to find out, and Inky replies it looks ridiculous. Nam gets ready to leave. Inky asks if he is tired of his situation. Nam tries to deny it, he just has to make it through high school holding himself back. Inky says he could change everything and help him see. Nam denies it, calling him a figment of imagination, but Inky replies that he wasn't and say he lives inside him and he just needed to say he was tired of it. Nam admits he couldn't take it anymore, and Inky grins saying it will do, and he covers Nam in black energy. At home, Grandpa gets worried about waiting for Nam and goes out to find it. As he walks, he hears the guy talk about how Nam fought back. As the black hoodie guy keeps ridiculing him, Grandpa gets there and asks where Nam is. Black hoodie guy denies it while laughing and tries to walk away. But Grandpa begins to smacks him and ask again. His friend tries to help but gets hit as well, and Grandpa begins to walk toward the black hoodie. Nam walks in darkness when a black tendril begins climbing up his leg, and a spirit-looking arm grabs his face. The arm turns out to be Inky's, and tells him he is going to change everything. As dark energy invades his body, his scar, and he gets strength and he passes out, and Inky looks at his fall. Another spirit arises behind him as asks why he cured him. Nam gets disoriented due to a sudden gain of vision. He is confused but soon notices that he has regained his vision. He calls for Inky but can't find him, walks out and begins searching for him when he runs into Grandpa. He calls out to him but isn't sure how he can explain his situation, but Grandpa just hugs him. Back home, he says he didn't know how this had happened, and is surprised that he didn't question him as well. Nam transferred to new school after that. He hadn't seen Inky since he regained his sight, but he soon got used to living without him. He slowly got to his new home and his eyesight as well. Nam tells his grandpa he is going for a walk, and he tells him to be careful. Grandpa thinks about how he healed overnight, and stands up saying he need to be sure, and walks away as Inky pops out of the dark room. While on his walk, Nam encounters an adult who is cursing someone for scratching his car when he notices Nam and begins cursing at him. As he tries to bow to apologize, a girl comes in and defends him, saying he didn't have to apologize. He smacks her with his back, which she kicks to the middle of the road. She kept mocking him, and in anger, the adult tries to smack her, which she easily dodges and counter with a spin kick to the head. He tries to tackle her, but she trips him easily and steps on his back, putting his arm in a hold. Afterward, he just rides off as she asks if Nam is okay. Nam notices the scratch and offers a bandage and helps her put it on as well. As he handed her the bandage box, they heard someone call her and turned to see someone in a gray hoodie. He noticed Nam and began asking if he was her boyfriend. Habiel was screaming back at Gray Hoodie, and she politely bid Nam farewell, and he pulled the gray hoodie. Nam just stares as she walks into a building. He wonders if she was athlete, and guesses he should head home. While going to school, he gets distracted by a cat, and before he notices he is late for school. At the school gate, the teacher greets the student but signs seeing Siuho Jang and complains about his appearance, but lets him in. The teacher looks at his watch and tells Jin Hyuk to take the name of the tardy student. Jin Hyuk is closing the gate when the student on another side of the road sees him closing the gate. Waiting for the green light, Nam wonders if he can run to it. The moment green light turns on, he sprints full speed and barely passes the closing gate. Jin looks back to see other student being nowhere close to the gate. Seo Hojong is also surprised to that as a teacher whack him with the board, telling him to put down the names. He looks at the board and wonders if he is a transfer student, and Jin Jiok remembers seeing him with his sister the day before. After introducing himself to the homeroom teacher in the staff room, Nam gets to the class, standing in front of the class and introducing himself. He remembers all the bad experiences he had due to his scar and blindness years, until someone in the back sits waves at him, calling back to him in a loud voice, and everyone else being to mummer in interest, surprising name. The teacher assigns his seat next to Hanam Chow, who introduces himself and offers to answer any question he has. He begins fidgeting in nervousness when Habiel joins in, and begins talking as Nam recognizes her. As they are talking, her friend comes in asking how they knew each other. After hearing the reason, he turns to Nam, introduces herself As the three begins talking and messing around, Nam just laugh, and by the end of the day, a small group of friends forms. While returning home, they ask to walk back together and split midway to go their own way. As they walk home, Habiel bids goodbye points at the path to her home, but Nam walks the same way. Habiel says he didn't have to walk her home, but cut him off, saying if he wants to. At the front of the house, she tells him he should be going as well, but Nam replies that he lives there as well. As they walk to their apartment, they find out they are neighbors, and Habiel begins to squirm in bed, remembering what she had said. The next day, Nam meets the cat again, and gives it a treat before leaving for school. Moments later, a blonde student comes, as well notices the food the cat has gotten, and wonders who he is as she looks at him go. The next day in the cafeteria, he and Hanum line up for lunch, when a gray-haired bumps into Homan and just berates him. Nam tries to talk to him, but Homan covers his mouth after getting their food. Homan tells Nam the gray hair is an upperclassman and hung out with people who had a connection with the mob. Nam tries to argue back, but he cuts him off, saying he was fine, and begins eating. Behind, the gray-haired guy and his friend mock Homan with unsavory words and laughs. Hanum tries to endure it, but Nam stands up and tells them to stop. Others notice him standing with gray hair, enraged, walk up to him and try to punch him, but in Nam's vision, he could read each of his moves easily, dodges with little effort. Every move he threw, Nam easily dodged as he could see the next move. The gray-haired too confused, and feeling like he was in palm of a monster hand, when Hanum jumps in trying to mediate when he smacked him on the face. Seeing Hanum fall, he feels enraged when a dark spirit starts whispering in his ear, and tells him that if Nam didn't like fighting, he could do it as he begins possessing him. Seeing gray hair getting ready, he throws a punch with teach dodges, and he grabs his head and knees him. Gray hair holds his ground and throws another punch, but Nam grabs, throwing him on the ground. As he hits the ground, all gray hair could see was a crazed smile on Nam's face. Everyone is surprised as spirits keep laughing when something appears and pushing him deep inside Nam again. As Nam regains his consciousness, he finds gray hair on the ground, and his friend walking toward him, ready to attack. Just when they were closing in, Jin-jok jumped in, diffusing the situation. Gichin's friends, afraid of him, backed off as he pulled Hanum up and called gray-haired out to talk with him, and Gichin left cursing Nam one last time. Nam turns to Hanum, sees his swollen face, pulls him to the nurse's office. When asked if they fought, Hanum stops him and lies about the reason for injury. And as they walk to class, he tells him that the teacher didn't want him to send to principal office for fighting. Nam is confused, saying he didn't fight, but Hanum tell him about him slamming Gichin to ground and said he should be fine with Habiel's brother at his side, as he is part of student council, and that he kept the peace in the school. Gichin complains, but Ji says he was asking for it. Gichin keeps complaining, but Jinhee stops him, saying he is at risk of being expelled, and walks away, telling him to get his act together. Near the trash dump place, Gichin meets with his friends, who suggest finding Nam and not letting him get away. When Seoho walks in, asking them to leave Nam alone, he asks them to stay out of the matter while releasing a chilling aura. Gichin and most other backs off and agrees, but one of them tries to complain. He walks up close to him, fussing over it, but is knocked unconscious with a high kick to the face. In the classroom, as he is sitting, a blonde girl calls out to Seoho and asks if he is smoking too, which he apologizes while cursing the upperclassmen inside, and walks away as another classmate talks about how different he acts around Daehayeon. On the way home, Nam and Habiel talk about the cat Nam had started to take care of, and then go separate ways, as she was going to the gym first. When he returned home, he calls out for his grandpa, but wonders if he went out as the light were off. He turned on the light to find out Inky eating food that was left out. Inky runs away laughing, as Nam calls out to him and hides in a room, holding back his laughter. Nam runs in, but can't find him. When he looks around, Inky is on the roof, jumps on his face, startling him, and he tumbles and hits his head on the doorframe. Inky tells him to take the call, which confuses him at first, but then notices Grandpa has called him. He picks up the call, and Grandpa tells him that he has an urgent matter to attend to and won't be home for a while, and apologizes for saying this on phone. Nam says it's fine and wishes him a safe trip and ends the call. Inky asks him to go for a walk. In the park, Nam asks where Inky is, and he replies he was resting as he was tired after healing him. But he tries to confirm if he has healed him, and Inky admits it with a huge smile and says there would be more changes for now, on which reminds Nam of an incident of him not being himself. Inky says he was going back to sleep, but when Nam asks he was gonna disappear, Inky replies he wasn't, and he would always be inside him. Nam as if he was an imagination. Then what was he but Inky say goodbye and vanishes, leaving Nam wondering when the cat comes in. Dayeon walked toward to park with cat food in her pocket, wondering if the cat had waited long but noticed the boy from morning feeding the cat. The cat, noticing Dayeon, went toward her as Nam turned to see someone had arrived. The moment she looked at Nam, she remembers him from her childhood and calls out his name. She is feeding a cat in a garden outside the orphanage when Nam, who is unaware of her being there, sits down next to her. He gets out the fish Grandpa bought and tries to feed the cat, but finds he is already eating. Nam is surprised when Dahyun says she fed him as he stumbles back, covers his scarred face, and tries to leave. However, upon hearing her calm responses, he sits down again, covering his scarred face. She explains that she is from the neighborhood because her dad works there. When asked why he was covering his face, he said that everyone thought it disgusting. Hearing this, she said that she had already seen it, and there was no reason to cover his face, letting him move his hand. She touches the injured area and says, who would care about how he looks as he could feel like everyone else, before adding that it was okay, and that his heart must have hurt a lot from everyone's reaction. Back in the present, Nam keeps staring at her, but she walks away thinking she must have been mistaken, leaving Nam wondering if he has misheard her. Back in bed, he drifts off to sleep, hoping that Inky and Grandpa will return soon. When he wakes up, he sees a door that has been slightly opened, and as he opens it, he sees a scene from the day of the explosion. He tries to stop his mother but freezes when recalling the interviewer's word, but discovers he is unable to smell gas. Just then, a dark hand slowly reaches out to pull him back into the room as the explosion wakes him. Breathing heave, he is confused as he thinks he had a dream, but can't remember, and grabs his head due to throbbing pain. He remembers Hanum's words and wonders if he really did, that he couldn't remember, and if Inky would know something. Still lost in thought, he walks to school when Habiol calls to him and tells him it is the weekend. Meeting back on the second floor, he tells her he thought it was Friday, and she clarifies it was yesterday, and adds how they even talked about plans on the weekend while eating. Nam is confused as he thought he had eaten with Hanum yesterday, but she says that happened on Thursday, and jokes he must have been tired yesterday and had kept dozing off. She walks off saying she was going to the gym, as Nam is trying to piece everything together. After saying goodbye and walking back in, he begins to panic, as he didn't remember anything about Friday. He notices a notice outside a library, confirms that it is indeed Saturday, and considers asking Habil again when he sees Dayeon. As they stare at each other, Dayeon admits how much he looks like the boy he knew in the past. Hanum then emerges and calls out Nam's name. She chokes on the water and turns to look at him again, before running away. Hanum suspiciously calls out Nam's name again as she coughs up more, and tells Nam she must have known him. She thinks to herself from around the corner that he had the same name, and that maybe they were the same person. Seo Hojang, who is outside smiling and scrolling through his text, answers a call for seniors, and learns that Jichin was gathering men to beat someone up with money, so he couldn't reach him to find out whether he knew anything. When Seoho sees Nam and Honam leaving the library, he tells the senior that he didn't and approaches them. He tells them that Jichin was gathering men to beat Nam and asks if he knew about it. Nam responds that he didn't, and Seoho tells him he was from the class next door. He looks at Nam's hand for something and extends a handshake, saying that friends must help one another. Nam shakes Seoho's hand without much thinking, and Soho takes one last glance at Nam's hand before heading into the library. Honam, who is still confused, advises Nam to keep a lookout for Seoho, and explains that the Gishin gang is afraid of Seoho. Nam was thinking to himself that he looked nice when Inky suddenly appeared on his shoulder and said, "Seoho looks like a delinquent," startling Nam. Hanum asks about what happened, but he just brushes it off and asks what Hanum would be doing. He replies that he will be returning to the library and bids him farewell. Dahyun smiles at Nam as he leaves the top of the library building. But then she notices Seoho and turns to leave while pretending to cough. Nam continuously tries to get an answer from Inky, but he refuses to respond. Suddenly, they hear someone scream, and as they check for the source, they see a man leaping over a bridge, while someone else yells for help to call 119. When Nam tries to run to save him, Inky, sensing something, asks him to stop and releases a threatening aura. Nam criticizes Inky and warns him that the man might die, but Inky tells him to let him die since there's no way to save him. However, Inky is surprised to see Nam break free from the restraint and run forward. Calling him foolish, evil-looking ghost materialize behind Inky. Nam dives into the river to grab the man's arm as the bystanders continue to call for help. When he tries to pull the man away and finds him tied to a block, Inky reappears and tells Nam to go up, because saving a man who wants to die is pointless. However, Nam reminds Inky that when he had lost everything and hated the world, his grandpa held him, and he realized that what he wanted was to be held by someone. Some sort of power courses through him as he swoops down as the lion reaches the block, smashes it with a punch, and swoops back up with the victim. As Inky asks whether this was his doing, the evil-looking spirit comes next to him and reveals that he had planned it on Friday. It then asks Inky how long he thought he could stop him. When Dahyun asks whether Seoho knows Nam, he replies that he does, and inquires as to whether she does as well. Noticing her reaction, he tries to ask another question when they spot an ambulance speeding down the road. Seoho offers Dahyun coffee and they begin talking. After reaching the location, they dash to the river, prepared to jump in and rescue lives. But Nam grabs the paramedic's leg and pulls both himself and the victim out of the water. The paramedic saves the victim's life, while the other points at Nam and claims he saved him. The paramedics offer to drive Nam home, and he accepts. The paramedic asks him why he jumped, to which he responds that he hadn't. He tells the paramedic that he was meeting someone when he heard a call from behind and turned to see something attack him. He claims he didn't remember anything after that and apologizes. He turns to Nam and expresses gratitude, saying he would like to thank his parents. As they were conversing, the paramedic glanced at Nam and had a vision of his former self. After he leaves, he talks to the driver about the incident that happened 10 years ago and says that Nam reminded him of it. The driver then talks about an incident in which someone killed an entire family, committed arson, vanished, and left no survivors aside from a young boy who was unable to remember anything about the incident or the perpetrator because of trauma. In a dimly lit space, Grandpa tosses Nam's file aside and asks if there's any chance it was hidden in the child's body. The other person attempts to deny it, but concedes that it could be plausible and warns that leaving it alone could be harmful. Grandpa asks whether there is a way to get rid of it, but the other guy quickly responds that there isn't and that he knows what needs to be done. Just like 10 years ago. As Nam looks in his pocket for his key in front of his door and realizes that Habiel has returned from the gym, she also discovers that Nam, who is drenched and puzzled, is watching her and sneeze in the cold. As soon as Habiel lets Nam inside her apartment and gives him a change of clothes, he observes that his figure is changing and that the clothes feel loose. At that moment, Inky appears holding the key. As Habiel hears the disturbance, when she opens the door, when he doesn't respond, Nam abruptly leaps out of the room to grab Inky, knocking Habiel to the ground. He apologizes, but she yells for him to stop because she is embarrassed to see Nam half-naked. Seoho, who had been waiting for Da-hyun, wakes up unexpectedly in the library. He looks about and hears a call, realizing it's his. He exits the room, answers the phone, and learns that the caller wants him to go to the hospital, since all of the seniors have been admitted there, and it might be connected to Nam's situation. In the hospital ward, he witnesses several severely injured seniors. The person who phoned him claimed that Nam was the one who caused the injuries. Seoho sees Gichin trembling by the door and calls out to him. He wonders if Nam lied when he said he didn't know. He asks Gichin if Nam did it, in fact, but he doesn't hear back. He grabs the back of his head and asks again whether Nam did, at which point Gichin prepares to explain what happened on Friday. When they saw him heading back home with his friends, they followed him after waiting for him at the gates. Nam abruptly ends the group and leaves, claiming he has the stuff to attend to. Jeannie remarks on how different Nam seems, and Habiel finds it strange too, having spent the entire day sleeping. Gichin and his gang saw that Nam was alone by himself and decided to follow him. When they saw him enter an alley and realize he was just standing there, they were pleased. Seeing Nam tremble, one of them chuckles without realizing that Nam, the one who was possessed, was barely able to contain his excitement. Gichin starts to tease him, thinking he is trembling from fear. He grabs Nam by the hair, but Nam tosses it away and quickly punches the people on either side of Gichin, before giving Gichin a hard kick to the gut. With a creepy grin, Nam makes fun of Gichin, who gives the order for others to attack. When they do, he throws Gichin against the wall and tells him to keep an eye on everything. Gichin gets confused but sees Nam can easily avoid one man's attack, and even grabs his arm to slam him against the wall. He also deflects another man's strike and immobilizes him in an arm lock. The man asks him to stop right away, but Nam only gives Gichin a quick glance, and the latter realizes that Nam is having fun as he breaks the arm while grinning. Nam even taunted the others by waving at them while holding a broken arm. One of them suggested they flee, but Nam calmly stood up, swaying suddenly jumped into action, taking down 3 of them with ease and slamming the last one into the wall next to Gichin, who saw his call for help interrupted by a kick to the head. Nam chases the 2 who had fled, so Gichin takes advantage of the opportunity to crawl away. However, as he turns ahead, he sees Nam waiting for him. He tells him he is going to borrow his phone, promising to lay hands on him and pretend nothing happened while making a phone call. Returning to the hospital room, Seoho bursts into laughter as he recalls letting Nam leave the library, since he didn't see anything unusual. Thought he may have been mistaken that day at the cafeteria when he had briefly noticed a dark mortal. He clenches his fist as he finally links to the person he is searching for.